All right, hello and good afternoon. Welcome back to the Relationship Series. I'm your host, Genevieve. Here we have transformational conversations about how to do your relationships better because when your relationships are good, your life is good, and who doesn't want that? Today we're talking about conflict busters, how to bust through conflict, how to do conflict better than we do it. Most of us, we avoid conflict, and then there's disconnection, and there's all kinds of craziness that happens in our relationships, and then we end up sad. So, what we're going to do is instead of avoiding the thing that is uncomfortable, we're going to dive in and figure out how to do it well. So, we're doing conflict busters today. I've got 10 for you, top 10. And these are things that I've both failed at and that I'm continuing to work on. We have a special guest in the house today who is joining us. He is an educator, he is an author, he is a speaker, he is a friend, and he is a brother of mine. We have Nigel Hunter in the house. Nigel, come join us on the couch. And we're going to be diving in to our conflict busters today. Once again, I am completely interruptible. Say hi to the folks.
What's going on, people? Happy to be here. This is exciting times for a really good conversation.
It
Yep.
is always. Top 10 conflict busters. Number 10. Focus on your feelings. What I've found is that in conflict, we focus on the facts and we focus on our thoughts about the facts. So our interpretations about what's going on. But we rarely focus on the feelings. And what happens is our feelings are all happening. There's all the intense emotions, and that's what's fueling the escalation of the conflict. So, what we want to do is we want to focus on the feelings. We've talked about this a number of times. How do we do that? We use I statements. So, I statements are really powerful when we're focusing on feelings. So, I would say something like, I feel somewhat uncomfortable, like that, as opposed to, why are
You're
you
making
ignoring me?
you're making me feel uncomfortable.
No, not you're making. Well, yeah, I could say that too.
That's not an I statement,
But,
right? But.
or I feel like you're making me uncomfortable.
Mhm.
That's weird. But what we would do is we would say we would own our feelings, and then we would share that as opposed to, you're doing this to me. It is very rare that someone is going to feel attacked and start defending themselves if you're sharing your feelings. If you are sharing your thoughts about them, your opinions about them, or your opinions about the situation, then it is more likely, let's say, for them to feel attacked and then to start defending themselves. And once we get into defensiveness, like it's almost a wrap. Like things can escalate very quickly and get out of control. And then there's no obvious path to resolution because the guards are up. We're like, no, 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 no. I need to explain myself. I need to justify myself. I need to figure out how to let you know that you're wrong. So that's not something that we want to include into conflict when we're doing it intentionally. So I statements are really, really good when we're sharing our feelings. And I don't know if you have any thoughts on.
Yes, I did. In regards to the I statement, I think when you come from an I statement perspective, it's you taking accountability for your own feelings as opposed to putting the blame on somebody else.
Mhm,
I think that's a great way to go about it, as
mhm.
opposed to the other opposite way, which we've all seen and we've all experienced.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Absolutely. So I grew up in a Caribbean household. If any of you know about Caribbean households, you know that sometimes it can get critical. So growing up, it's like, how come your room look like that? How come your face look like that? How come your clothes look like that? Rough, dry. Everything is a problem. Okay, we cannot win out here in these Caribbean streets. One of the things that I started doing was asking my mother, "Hey, what are you trying to achieve? What is it? What's the objective here? What are you trying to get across to me? And how do you want me to feel right now?" So I'd kind of still put it on her, but we were kind of getting past the like, leave me alone, get out of my face phase. What I found worked better was when I started figuring out how I felt. Like I felt hurt or I felt embarrassed about what she was saying. Like I don't know how to do life right. I felt like not enough. I felt inadequate. I felt incompetent. So these are things that I had to search within myself and identify. And then I started sharing that with her. Like, hey, like I want to be able to communicate with you and hear what you have to say. I value what you have to say, but I feel hurt or incompetent when you speak to me this way or when you refer to me in this way or the things that I'm doing in this way. And I found that actually opened the door. It created a lot less conflict where I was like, I'm storming out of here because I don't want to hear you anymore. And I'd be silent for, how many ever days and more room for conversation
Did it make the conversation more transparent?
on my side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think my mom, I mean, she's learning day by day in certain ways, but I think for the most part, when you're older and Caribbean. You're kind of stuck in your ways. Kind of. All right. Anything else?
Continue. Let's do
Okay.
it. Let's do it.
Top 10 conflict busters number 9. Active listening. Active listening is a superpower. Okay.
Definitely.
It is a life changer, game changer, all the things. I promise you this. If you learn to listen actively to anybody in your life, they're going to feel heard and seen, and your relationships are going to get better instantly. Promise you that. So, active listening is a conflict buster because when you do this, they feel heard and you get to slow things down. So, when things are escalating, you're saying words, they're saying words. Sometimes they're words you don't even mean. Sometimes they're hurtful words that you cannot take back, you cannot unsay, that do even more damage than you trying to resolve the issue. What you want to do here is so my definition of active listening, let me give you that. Paraphrase, check in, and ask. So you want to paraphrase what's being said or what you hear in their words, not your own interpretation of their words. And then you want to check in that you have heard or you have said it correctly. And then you want to ask a question. So the question can be a curiosity question like, is there more you want to say about that? Did I get that right? All that kind of stuff. What I found is that a lot of meaning gets lost in translation because we're tired or we're distracted or we're justifying ourselves. We're trying to be right. We're trying to prove our point. And so a lot of information gets lost in translation. And we start answering questions that weren't even asked. We start hearing words that were not said. We start doing a whole lot of things. And it messes it messes us up and escalates conflict. And I call that fears-based listening because when we're afraid of either disconnection or people leaving or people misinterpreting or perceiving us incorrectly, then we start grappling at our defaults. We start doing the things that help us to feel safe or help to protect us or guard us. And that can be really unhelpful for when we're trying to resolve conflict or we're trying to what are we doing? Bust conflict. This is a real life example. I've done a vegan diet for a long time. I've done vegetarian diets and so on. And I find that it just makes my body feel better. I had a friend who said, you know what? I'm actually thinking about changing my diet and becoming vegan. But they said it and then they said, you do you still do that? Like in like a questioning way. And I was like, why are you asking me if I still do my vegan diet? I don't understand. Like what? Do I look fat? Did I gain weight? They said nothing of the sort. But my mind, because I did gain weight, but anyway, my mind went to, you're calling me fat. Like, hello, you understand? That's not even what they said. So I'm like, Jen, stop this. And we do this a lot. I know you guys can relate because I do it and I'm human and you're human. So sometimes we just jump to a conclusion. We say, oh, they really meant such and such. No, they probably didn't. And if you think they meant that, you can just ask the question. Paraphrase their words, check in with them and ask. That's actively listening, and that will help to de-escalate conflict.
I love the fact that active listening is really about understanding the other person, understanding where the other person is coming from. I think when you think about it that way, it changes the perspective. It's not about you, listening so you can respond or listening so you have something to come back with, but just listening to understand the other person.
Yeah, that's big. If you're listening to understand, then you probably take a step back from thinking through all the things and trying to sound smart. Anything else?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Top 10 conflict busters, number 8. Take personal inventory. When I think of taking personal inventory, it's about asking the question of the self. How do I want to come across right now? How do I want to sound? What message do I want to convey? What is the kind of feel that I want to be giving? What do I want to be giving, out here in this conversation or during this encounter or interaction? When I ask myself that question, I think, okay, if somebody else was watching me, if someone was looking at me, what would they be thinking? Would they be thinking I'm like volatile, angry, violent? Like, what would they be thinking of my behavior, my facial expressions, my tone of voice, the words that I'm speaking to another person? And this could be in the confines of your own home. And taking personal inventory helps you to come back to the objective. If my objective is to share with you vulnerably about how I feel, and I'm talking about everything other than how I feel, well, I'm not doing what's necessary to achieve my goal. And so sometimes when we veer off track and we go into tangents, we don't realize that we're counterproductive.
Derailing?
Well, we're derailed.
derailing things.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're doing something that's counterproductive.
Hmm.
If I'm yelling and I'm screaming and I'm cursing and so on, but I really want to convey to you that we need to have a calm conversation. Well, I'm not that's not what I'm modeling. That's not what I'm doing. I have to check myself and be like, my objective is for us to have a calm conversation, but I'm yelling. Or it might be I'm trying to come to consensus. I want to have an agreement of some sort. I want us to get to a place where we can agree on a plan. But I'm acting like I want to win the conversation. Like I just want to be right. I just want to prove my point. Well, my behaviors and actions are not aligned with what I want to achieve
Mm.
with my objective. And so taking personal inventory, like, am I trying to win this argument? Am I trying to connect with this person? Am I trying to damage this relationship? What am I trying to do here? And is what I'm doing getting that job done? So that's taking personal inventory, like in the moment of a conflict. And that's a huge conflict buster because most of us don't want to get to the point where we feel like crap after having a conversation. We feel lonely, we feel sad, we feel anxious because this person has walked out and we're mad at each other, we're doing silent treatment and all that kind of stuff. Most people don't like that.
That's a powerful perspective is to
Yeah.
actually do what you're asking for when you're going
Mm,
into the conversation for sure. To
yeah.
already, emulate that or project that and show that in your behavior and your action and your words. Because
Yeah.
then that already sets the stage for the other person coming in to kind of be like, okay, this is how we're dealing with it. And they'll either, join you
Mm,
or yeah, hopefully they join you, right?
hopefully. Yeah. Hopefully. That's like a best case scenario kind of
Best
thing.
case scenario. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I used to pick fights. I used to pick fights.
You
I used
used
to
to
pick
pick
fights.
fights.
Not like physical fights. Oh my gosh, I can't fight, y'all. I have friends who can fight though. Don't mess with me. Don't play. Don't play. I have friends who can fight. I used to pick like verbal fight, almost like verbal banter when I felt lonely. It was almost like fighting and being close to someone or being connected to someone through fighting or like argument was better than silence or feeling isolated and
Interesting.
alone. Yeah.
Interesting.
It was kind of interesting.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna put that out there to, has anyone done this before?
I'm sure
That's
you
in the
have. Don't put
room.
me out there. Yeah.
Anybody done this in the room? Sounds pretty familiar. You might not call it that, but I think you've probably done it in one way or another. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But your
Okay.
your your goal in doing that was really to have that level of companionship. Would you call it that? Or yeah.
It's like it's easier to poke and to like jab than it
Hmm.
is to say like I want to cuddle or like I want some affection right now or I want to be close. Like it's easier to do that than to be vulnerable and like ask for what I really want. It's been a journey to this place. And I literally think back to what caused conflict in my relationships, both romantic relationships, platonic relationships, professional relationships. Like what were the things that came up often? And what helped to decrease the instances of that,
I
right?
think you're making 2 points though, two valid points in the sense of this is where you are now, but that little girl, or I could say that little boy, if you don't hold that person in check, it's easy to resort to that, right? So
Yeah.
it's in the sense of being acknowledging and knowing that that
Hmm.
exists, it's good to know that, oh, wait a minute, where's this coming from? Oh, this is when I used to do it this way, so that you can
Yeah.
always revert back to what you've learned and be positive about how
Yeah,
you go forward. Yeah.
absolutely. My
Yeah.
defaults kick in when I'm tired, when I'm lonely, when I'm angry, when I'm hungry. Like my defaults kick in strong, and I'm like, I'm back to that place where I'm, using unhelpful or maladaptive ways of dealing with conflict. Top 10 conflict busters. Number 7 is empathy. Empathy is a weird word, I know. This is my definition of empathy. It is not the clinical definition or the Webster's dictionary definition. It is Jen's definition. In their shoes, through their eyes, with their words. In their shoes, so put yourself into somebody else's shoes, seeing through their eyes and using their words. So that is my
Hmm.
definition of empathy, trying to get somebody else's perspective and experience by listening to their words, by trying to see things through their eyes, really thinking about what is happening for them right now in their life. They're late for a meeting. They might have 3 kids that they have to get off to school in the morning. They might have had to come from the other side of the city. There might have been traffic. Maybe there was an accident on the road. Maybe they didn't get paid or they didn't get a chance to go to the grocery store or something. They didn't get breakfast. Like thinking about what's actually happening for this person in their life that could have contributed to the thing that's annoying you or making you upset. Thinking about it like that, like how do I transfer myself into that person's experience? This is hard because it goes against our very self-centered nature.
Yep.
Because we're just like, why did you, like, how could you, like, you should have. That is very normal. Very normal.
That is so intentional
Right.
and will change so many paradigms and dynamics when you do that, because now it's not about you anymore. It's about the other person, right? And how are they feeling? What are they going through? And taking that in is now giving you a new perspective. And you're thinking about it also from the perspective of, if I was them, how would I feel in this situation? And it changes, hopefully, how you respond to whatever they're going through and whatever they're saying, right? Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And it's so hard. It's so hard. I'm not a naturally empathetic person. I've had to learn and practice and build the muscle. I am very much like, you should have got your stuff together so that you could have made the commitment or made the time that we agreed on. That is my default. That's my instinct. To this day, I have to check myself. We had a conversation the other day, and my instinct was to be like,
I know.
bro, I'm gonna need for you to take care of you because I can only handle me right now. You understand? But in my mind, I thought, oh, right, I know how to do this. I know how to approach this now. I use the strategy and I use it intentionally. So I thought, what is happening for Nigel right now? Nigel had a long day. There's a lot going on for him in his life. And so I have to put my head in that frame of mind.
And how you thought and how you responded were different.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because I could have just been like, I listen, whatever you got going on, deal with all that stuff. If you say you're gonna be here at a certain time and doing a certain thing, then you need to be, but that's not a conflict buster. That's actually a conflict builder. It's like a conflict builder. Like, we don't want that.
You're adding fuel to that fire.
We're trying to use fire extinguishers out here. Like, we're not trying to add fuel to the flame. It's hard. It is. I'll admit that, but it's worth it. It's worth learning and it's worth doing. Top 10 conflict busters, number 6, time out. This is for the purpose of emotional regulation. When I say timeout, I mean saying I'm going to take a moment to myself. It's getting escalated. I'm like, okay, wait, you know what? I really want for this to go well. I want us to get to a resolution, but I am flooded and overwhelmed right now, or I am tired and angry right now, or I am extremely frustrated and I'm about to say something I don't want to say that I cannot unsay. So let me take a time out. I'm gonna take 10 minutes. I'm gonna go over there and breathe. I'm gonna woo-saw. I'm gonna do whatever I need to do. And then we're gonna revisit the conversation when I'm in a better frame of mind. Here's what timeouts are not. They're not silent treatments. They're not an excuse to withdraw.
Ghosting.
To ghost, to like run away, and hope that they forget that we were in the middle of a conversation.
2 days later.
Right? Right? It's not that. Okay. Nobody goes on a timeout in a game and doesn't come back.
Game.
Right? Like, we're just on a timeout. We forfeit. We're gone. Timeouts are for the purpose of catching your breath. If you're playing basketball or whatever, the coach calls a timeout. You get to breathe a little bit. They get to arrange a new play, a new strategy to go back into the game, and right? Win.
Yeah.
So timeouts are actually for strategizing to win. Because whatever's happening or whatever you've been doing is not getting you to the place that you want to be. So you're like, okay, timeout. Let's regroup here. Let's re-strategize here. Okay, what play do we want to, come up with? We're going to pass the ball to we're going to pass the ball to Nigel. Nigel's going to go for the layup or whatever, or going for the 3-pointer. So we want to make sure that we're not ghosting. We're not using silent treatment. We're not withdrawing. And confession is good for the soul. I'm 100% a recovering withdrawer. Like, I will shut down in a minute. I'll be there physically. I'll be physically present. My brain is like, tweet, 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 and away we go. Like, I'm not thinking about the birds. So you have to recognize what withdrawal looks like for you, because some of us will cut off emotionally, maybe not physically, maybe we'll still be there physically, but our minds are gone. Key. Our hearts are gone. We have to recognize when that's happening for us. We want to make sure we're using our timeouts well. and most effectively, using them to reset, to regroup, to re-strategize so that we can come back and do the conflict better. One of the things that I used to share with couples is don't let this become like a habit in the relationship to do silent treatment, because it's really hard to get out of that habit. And silent treatment stuff like that's like so damaging. If you guys look at,
Because it's not silent. It's very loud.
yeah,
Very
that
loud.
part speaks
Yeah.
volumes.
Yeah.
The Gottman Institute, they've been doing studies for years on couples. They have the four horsemen of the apocalypse.
Really?
It's a biblical reference,
Yeah.
but what they are talking about are top four predictors of divorce, and one of them is stonewalling. Stonewalling is very much like silent treatment. You can't get through. I'm not listening to you. I'm not responding to you. It is a very damaging habit to build in your relationships. So you want to keep the lines of communication open. At the end of the day, we're looking at how to connect better. That's why we're trying to learn how to bust through conflict. We're trying to connect better with our loved ones, with our family members, with the people that we care about in our lives. So we want to eliminate ghosting and silent treatment, and we want to implement timeouts and re-strategizing. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I like that because you're doing that so that that does not happen, and you're emotionally regulating so that you can
Yeah.
come back
Mhm.
with your best self involved, so that you can continue on the path to, communicating and resolving the conflict, hopefully. And even if it's not resolved, it's not always about resolution, and that's what I have to learn. It's not always about solution and resolution. It's about process,
Yeah. The
process.
method.
And the process is more important than the actual solution. I'll say it again. The process is more important than the actual solution, because in the process, you get to understand each person. Yeah.
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 Big bars. Okay. All right. Do you have an example? I don't know if you have an example of this. I'm trying to think of something that like
Emotional
happened in your life.
regulation.
Yeah, just like taking a time out.
Yeah, I think for me, I think I lead with emotion, to be honest. A lot of times I lead with emotion. I have to catch myself and say, look, let me regulate what I'm feeling first,
Ah, okay.
and then have the conversation, as
Yeah.
opposed to go in and blah, 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 just pure emotion. And then the
Yeah.
person's like, where's this coming from? This is, you're feeling this, I'm not feeling this. What is this?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
really regulating that first, pinpointing the emotion and where it's coming from, and then having that conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So taking time out for yourself.
Yeah.
I have a fail example. I mean, I've failed many more times than I've succeeded.
Fail is actually learned, so there's no
Or
fail.
I have a learned example. I had a conflict with some friends of mine. It was over text message. They left and went somewhere, but they didn't tell me. And I was like, "Where'd you guys go?" And then they were like, "Oh, we left and we went back to the place." And I was like, "Why did you just leave me? I don't understand." I was like, I was really upset. I mean, I actually just felt scared and hurt, but I didn't say that because we weren't at the place where we use I statements and things like that. So I was just like, "Where are you guys? Like, how come you guys left me?" And then they were just like, "Why are you being so rude?" And I was like, "What the? Excuse you." So at that moment,
Verbal fist up?
I could have taken a timeout and reset myself, but I didn't. I doubled down. And I was just like, excuse you, and I, did all the attitude things. I used to fight, but not with my fists. I used to fight with my words when I was younger. So if I ever get really upset, my words fly out and they are very biting and very cutting, and it's not nice.
Now you've learned to use your
So
words to heal.
now I use my words to heal.
Use her superpower of words to heal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. I use them very intentionally now. But I remember, like, at that time, I could have taken a timeout and it would have made things better. Thank God I have some emotionally intelligent friends because they did the work on their end to make things better. But at that time, I could have taken a timeout, but I didn't. And so the conflict lasted much longer than it needed to, and we were uncomfortable for much longer than we needed to be.
That's powerful. That's
Hmm.
powerful.
How
It's
about you?
not about you.
Yeah.
Remember, conflict buster is definitely not about you. If you focus on the other person, the other person focuses on you, the conflict will be a lot smaller than we make it.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. For sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Which brings us to our number five. Top 10 conflict busters. Number five, caring words. Sometimes we say it's not what you say, it's how you say it. It's actually both. It's what you say and it's the tone with which you say it. Caring words with a tender tone in the middle of a conflict can de-escalate things really, really quickly. And
Mhm.
when I think of caring words, I think, what is the heart of the matter right now? If you're trying to be right and you're trying to prove a point, maybe change your motive in that because it's
Maybe.
maybe because it's probably not going to work out well. It's not going to work in your favor. If you genuinely want to maintain connection, then caring words in the spirit of vulnerability in the midst of conflict can
Mhm.
can help. And words like, you know what, I'm actually really angry. I'm really upset right now, but I do want us to get to a place where we can have a decent conversation. Or, I really do care about you. I care about how you feel. This might not be the right time for us to hash this out because I feel really upset. Or whatever the case is, like those kinds of words, like, I don't want to fight with you. I don't want us to hurt one another. I want us to be able to figure this out, but we're not doing our best right now. And so maybe we can come back to this afterwards. And I think those words in the midst of conflict can completely like get through the hard stuff because we're battling, we're back and forth, we're bucking heads. Just being able to say, I actually don't want to fight. I don't want us to get crazy. I want us to be able to talk.
Yeah, I hear you
So
saying like it's almost like reestablishing the value and the worth in the relationship. Like regardless of what this
hmm
conversation or this argument is about, this
hmm
is the worth of the relationship. This is the value I have in
hmm
you,
yeah,
and this is
yeah,
why I don't want it to end up this way because I still have this value for you. I still see
yeah,
our relationship this way. I think
yeah,
that's amazing, and it reestablishes that level of regardless of what we're dealing with right now. This is who we are, and this is how we value the relationship, and this is why we're gonna go for it in this way, as opposed to, making it about me or making it about you. Yeah, that's
yeah.
good.
And even those are those
Hmm.
are those like what you just said are caring words. Like
Hmm.
we have a relationship, we have and this is with whoever. You can say this to your child, to reinforce that you are a parent who's open with them, who cares about them, who is willing to listen to them. You can do this with your boss, you can do this with anybody, but it's reestablishing like what the relationship means to you and how you guys have decided to do relationship. Like my dad is an African man, so he would be like this family or the Alao family. We as a family, or we as two individuals, or whatever the case is, or we as a culture within our office, our business, our corporation, our, whatever. We do things like this. These are the values that we uphold. We talk to one another without cussing each other off or calling each other names or insulting one another or yelling and screaming. That's how we have agreed to talk to one another. And so let's revisit that. Let's reestablish that as we're talking right now. If we're getting out of hand, if we're getting off track, you know, let's let's regroup. And I think caring words can do that.
Yeah, yeah. Get
Um,
back to the core values and core beliefs.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know if Candy's on today, but if you are, Candy, hey, what's good? This was a while ago. I don't know. I said something to her and I was, I guess I was upset. I don't know. I said something to her and she just stopped. She paused and she was just like, I don't like your tone. And I was like, oh, my tone. I was like, why don't you hear the words that I'm trying to say? But it was a valid comment. She didn't like my tone and I had to change my tone. I was like, okay, my bad. Okay, let me back up. Sorry, let me try that again. Because I really value the relationship and I want her to be able to hear and for us to have the conversation that's going to lead us somewhere.
Mm.
Caring words with a tender tone, very valuable for de-escalating conflict. That is a huge conflict buster. Anything else?
The analogy that comes to mind when you say tone,
Mm-hmm.
tone is almost like what you're delivering that meal in, right? And
Mm.
so if you're delivering your meal, for example, if it's a warm meal, but you're delivering it in something that is gonna turn the food cold, nobody's gonna want that, right? So you
Yeah,
got to really
that's good.
change the tone so that the whatever you're trying to deliver is delivered in the proper material or equipment. That's what I got from what you said. Yeah.
So tone can be like temperature,
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah. Uber Eats, you get something and they say you have to have that thing to keep it warm.
Yeah.
The tone is what keeps the meal warm.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
there you have
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So if you
Yeah.
want warmth, then keep it warm.
Yeah.
Don't show up here with an ice box and expect someone to enjoy your cold meal,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Serve it
It's
hot.
acting selfish, but it's frozen. Come on now.
Serve it hot. Serve it up hot. Okay, yeah, that's great. And then obviously the alternative is also true, right? If you want something to be refreshing and so on and so forth, don't make it so heated. Don't make it so fiery. You want something that's calm and cool. Well, don't light a fire under it,
Hmm.
right? So yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for that. Top 10 conflict busters number 4 is touch. Now, this has to be used wisely and strategically, and it has to be used in the context of right relationship. Obviously, you don't want to go around touching everybody. If it's, say, like a child, a young child, and they're having a temper tantrum, touch can actually be very calming. It can de-escalate conflict, like a hug or just a touch on the shoulders, or even like holding a hand or something like that. That can be very useful between friends, close friends, and you have to know your relationships with people for this. So if you know you have a friend that doesn't like touch, well, don't try to use touch as a conflict buster in the middle of conflict. And I'm a recovering avoidant, insecure avoidant attachment.
Recovered.
I'm a recovered, insecure, avoidant attachment person. I don't like people touching me. Well, I didn't used to like people touching me, let's say that, because touching is a form of intimacy. And so I'd kind of like shy away. So I'm growing and learning now. But if you have a friend who is somewhat avoidant of closeness during conflict, they're wanting to run. They want to leave. They don't want the closeness. They don't want to be vulnerable. They want to get away. They want to disconnect and distance. So if you know you have a friend who's like an avoidant type of personality, then you want to not use touch as a form of connecting in that way or in that space. And again, you have to know, right? These are relationships that you're building. You can ask questions in that moment. Hey, you know what? I feel like we're disconnecting too much. I feel like we need to reestablish closeness. If this is like a spouse or something, you can say, let's have the conversation while we're holding hands. Let's stand face to face, or let's turn toward one another while we're speaking. Let's make eye contact. Those kinds of things can be conflict busters, can bring the temperature down, so to speak. This is funny, actually. I used to date this guy, and when I am mad, when I'm really mad, sometimes I can get mean. And I'll just like complain about stupid stuff. Your nails are dirty, and I don't understand why you're chewing like that. You need to chew with your mouth closed, or just dumb stuff, like silly stuff that I wouldn't normally pay attention to or have an issue with, but I might be mad or I might be really, really tired or something. So one time I remember I was like nitpicking because I'm mad about something that I didn't bother to bring up before. I was just like, ugh, like rolling my eyes, all the attitude, all the body language in the world. And he just looked at me and he was just like, hmm. He didn't get upset. He didn't get mad. He just looked at me and he came over and he just gave me like the biggest hug, like a bear hug. I just started crying. I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what I needed right now. But I would never ask for a hug. I was just like, why are you like this? And but he saw through all of that and he gave me a hug. And so that touch completely eradicated the conflict because I was trying to start a fight. I was like poking at the bear. Yeah, I think.
Touch for the win. Go ahead, whoever that guy
Yeah, it was
was.
definitely
Touch
touch
for
for
the
the win.
win.
Comment, as someone who loves touch in general, I don't love to be touched when I'm in conflict with someone because I don't want the touch to be associated with conflict.
Mm.
So in agreement with your point, it's a form of intimacy for me. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Kate Case, for that. So we got to know our people. And I think asking questions is really helpful for that. Because if we have an inclination to move toward, which a lot of people do, have an inclination to move toward when there's conflict to reclaim that intimacy, because conflict can feel very like distancing and disconnecting. So some of us want to reclaim that intimacy by closing the space and touching, but we have to ask ourselves, like, is this other person going to be receptive to that? And then we can move accordingly or act accordingly.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
I think when you talk about touch, you don't want the touch to take away from actually getting through the actual conflict, right?
Hmm.
Because sometimes you go to the touch and then it's all about the touch and
Right.
you're forgetting that no, we still have to get through this.
Yeah.
And it's healthy to get through that. So, really figuring out, okay, is this a good time for this or is this not a good time or no touch at
Hmm.
all until the conflict is actually you've gotten through
Yeah.
it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that you
Yeah.
focus on the more important thing as opposed to this is uncomfortable, touch will alleviate it, but no, let's get through it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you said that, I think of associating the touch with like a reward, almost like a reward to get out of the conflict. And couples do this like makeup sex kind of thing, but like they do the conflict because it gets them high, and then they're like, oh my goodness, we have to like make up. That's very maladaptive, by the way. Please don't do that. Don't do that. Looking at the touch as a way to bypass getting through the conflict or doing the hard work of resolving the conflict. So you don't want to use touch for that. You want to use it as a conflict buster strategically if it's welcome in the type of relationship. I find that it works best with children because children sometimes feel abandoned and left alone or out to dry. Just a hand on the back or on the shoulder or something like that, or a quick hug can help them to remember that you love them, that they are enough, and that we can get through whatever the conflict is.
Hmm.
Use touch when there is a resolution. Yes, absolutely, KK.
Yeah, that's some really, really good points. I was thinking about this whole reward and punishment when touch is involved, and how we can avoid doing that because it kind of adds more weight to the conflict, if you understand what I mean. In the
No,
sense
talk
of,
about it.
okay, I'm going through, okay, I'm gonna just keep it 100. We're married in a relationship, and because we're going through a conflict, we're not, the intimacy is just right. And so it's almost like you're using it as a punishment. Because we're in conflict, this no
So
longer
you're like
exists.
withholding.
Withholding, right? And I think that actually makes the conflict even more intense than it needs to be, right? It's better to communicate that, listen, because we're going through this, I don't feel that I can get to an intimate place with you because I'm still hurt. I'm still feeling that way. Communicating those things as opposed to just having this as, "Mm, I'm not doing it." And there's no
Yeah.
explanation, there's no communication as opposed to the other way where you're communicating about it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good point. So
Yeah.
communicating what you're doing and why. So it's more about recognizing that there's a need that is beneath the withholding that has gone unmet or unaddressed. So if you're saying I'm withholding because I don't feel emotionally safe or secure or seen or validated or I'm hurt or whatever the case is, which is, I mean, we know intuitively why there's distance and withholding and silent treatment and withdrawal and so on. Obviously someone's hurt, but I think saying it out loud can establish our way back to a place of connection.
Right.
Communication is always better than not communicating. And recognizing that withholding, hello, folks, is passive aggressive. It's a contributing factor to conflict. Don't just think, oh, because I'm withdrawn and I'm shutting down and I'm moving away and all that kind of stuff, like you're the better party. That's not the case. You're contributing, you're pouring fuel on that fire by being silent, by withholding, by doing the punishing thing. You're saying, I'm trying to get at you. Yes, you're trying to get attention. You're trying to get back to a place where you guys can be connected. I get that. But are you behaving in the way that's actually going to get you what you want? Right? This goes back to, I don't even remember, was it point number 8? Taking personal inventory. What am I doing? How am I behaving? And is it getting me what I actually want? If you're withholding, but you want to reconnect, well, that might not work.
And
So,
I'm glad that we're bringing this up because I think we were having this conversation yesterday in the sense of establishing in your relationship the goal when it comes to conflict, right? It shouldn't be about, listen, I'm right, you're wrong, or you're right, I'm wrong. It's really about getting to a place where we can get back to who we were as far as the relationship and getting back to growing and building in the relationship, as opposed to just having conflict for the conflict's sake or having conflict to say, this is how I was right and this is how you're wrong. All of those things don't really help a conflict or don't really help a relationship. They might make you feel good because you want a conflict, but it's not helping the relationship. So the goal within the relationship really should be, listen, we're trying to get to the best place possible between me and you. And if there's a conflict involved, okay, let's get to back to where we need to be, as opposed to just doing it for doing its sake, right? And I think that is key because you know what? Conflicts are going to happen. Let's just be honest. Conflicts are going to happen. We're human. Conflicts are going to be happen. But what we need to realize is that, okay, when conflicts happening, what is more important, the relationship or this little conflict?
yeah, good point. Thanks for that. So, yes, conflicts are going to happen. Some folks actually really like conflict. So, I mean, you have to know who you're dealing with. So, I'm just saying,
Oh boy.
some folks out here
They
like to
love
fight.
the ring, boy. They
Just,
love that ring. Oh yeah, come back in the ring. We got
are you one of those people? Because I'm not one of those people. I like calm. I mean, I'm ready. I'll be ready, but I like just to chill. Okay. Top 10 conflict busters. Number 3, transparency and honesty. This is actually not an in the moment. So when conflict is happening, Most of the other conflict busters that we talked about, you can use those in the middle of the conflict to de-escalate in the moment. This one is more, I call it the foreplay of conflict. So this is like something that you can use to avoid conflict getting out of control when it does come up. And I say when because it will. And I say foreplay because, and men and women are different. We've heard this a lot. Women need a lot of time to get ready. They need a lot of attention. Throughout the day, we need text messages, cute text messages, and how are you doing, and how's your day, and maybe sexy text messages, gifts, and little notes, and all this kind of stuff. But all of that leads to a great experience later on in the day. And so men feel differently. Most men will say, well, when I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go. So they don't need a lot of foreplay. We have a comment. Go for it. Want to read it?
Wondering, how do you go into a conversation where you're upset without discussing or staying in that state of conflict? Sometimes it feels like all you have to bring to the conversation is the conflict. Okay.
How do you go into the conversation where you're upset? Clarify that for me.
Hi, everyone. Okay, essentially just wondering, it was what you said earlier around like not bringing the conflict and staying within the conflict, but how do you avoid that? How do you maybe mitigate that when all you feel like you have to bring is the conflict? You're so in the conflict, that's all you're thinking of, you're upset, and it feels like you can't see beyond the conflict.
Yeah. So if it's with another person, you want to bring it up and there's something that you're needing from the other person, I would say do your work. So do your work first so that you're not bringing all of that intense emotion to the conflict or to the conversation. You want to do your due diligence beforehand so that when you're bringing up the conversation, you are calm. And so you can speak rationally and in a regulated way about what it is you want. You've already done your due diligence, so you identified your feelings. So you can say, I'm coming with my I statements. And then you can say, I'm also ready to listen, to be open. And you're also coming with your requests. I know what I need and want out of this conversation. So you've done all that work. And all of that work helps to decrease your intensity in terms of the emotional experience that you're having. It's okay to bring up the issue. I have an issue, I have a problem with you, but if I say I have a problem with you, defenses, and we're not getting anywhere. If I say, you know what, this is how I'm feeling about what has happened, this is how I'd like for us to address it, and this is what I believe I need from you as we go forward, or can I hear from you what your thoughts are? That is coming from a really emotionally intelligent place. You've done your work. And people can tell when you do your work. If you just come out spilling and spewing and all kind of thing, people will be like, yeah, I don't really want no parts of that.
That's true. All right, thank you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That sounds like personal. Is that personal inventory? Speaking personal inventory?
I think it's part of all of them.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's feelings focused for sure. Definitely taking personal inventory. It's most of these conflict busters that we talked about. This one, than anything, being transparent and honest. Because when you're transparent and honest leading up to the conversation, then the conversation becomes easier. Foreplay is for the purpose of making things better during the main experience.
Yeah.
You want to be able to live a life of transparency and honesty in your relationship so that hidden feelings don't fester. You're getting them out, you're sharing them, you're letting people know what's going on. And when I think of this, I think of pressure. When you step on a grape, what comes out?
Grape juice.
Grape juice, the juice from the grape, right? So if you step on someone and all this icky, vile violence and abusive stuff comes out, well, that was on the inside. Usually that's because there's something being built up or that's festering. And so in relationships with people, you want to avoid that because when there's any kind of pressure, any kind of button pushed, or you're triggered, that stuff is what's going to come out. And so in order for you to bust through conflict, you want to have the least amount of things built up as possible so that when you step on that grape juice comes out, not rotten juice.
And that back to that transparency piece, right? Sometimes, in relationships, something is festering, and rather than communicating it with the other person, we let it fester, and then it festers more and festers more. And then finally, when the conflict is, all this stuff is coming out, you're like, oh, where did this come from?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you feel it festering, have the conversation, be transparent, say, listen, you did this, this is how it made me feel, and I'm still feeling this way because of that, and work with that as opposed to letting it,
Trust me, that's so clutch and so key. In the midst of conflict and arguments and fights, everything in the kitchen sink, that's not going to help. All these like unkind words. I had someone share with me they had moved in with roommates and everybody was kind of cool for the first few months. And then there was a disagreement. Like somebody was like, it's your turn to clean the bathroom. All of a sudden, this person who was quiet all the while blew up and started saying all these hurtful words. And the person was like, wow, tell me how you really feel. But I didn't know that was on the inside of you because it was built up for so long. And I was like, that's not what we want. We don't want to, that's not what we want in our relationships. Then we want to learn how to do it better.
Definitely.
Top 10 conflict busters number 2. Acknowledge and apologize. This is the double A.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is like
yeah.
AA, but not like Alcoholics Anonymous. This is like AA, acknowledge and apologize. So acknowledge your part and then apologize. Don't be like, yeah, I did that. And leave it at that. You know what I mean? No. Like, yeah, I did that. My bad. I'm sorry. Lead with the apology and the acknowledgement. That will get you to a calm place quicker than any other conflict buster.
Facts.
Acknowledge what you've done to contribute to this and then apologize for that. I know some people are allergic to apologies, but if you learn this, I promise you, your conflicts will go from 100 to like 0 in the matter of like weeks, months. And most of us don't even like conflict. So if you don't really like conflict, you better learn how to do this. Acknowledge what you've done wrong, how you contributed to the issue, and then apologize. What you do not want to do under any circumstances, none whatsoever. Do not do this. Do not do this. Explain, justify, make excuses for, and do not turn the tables. Well, I know I did this, but you did. Do like ixnay on the everything I just said, say, okay? Do not do that. It will blow things up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
Do not explain. Someone says you did something. Okay, well, but no. But you know what? Stop. I had a good reason. No, you didn't.
It cancels the apology.
Just no.
It cancels the apology. It cancels the acknowledgement.
Right.
That's what it does.
Yes, I did that. I'm so sorry. Period. Stop talking. Yes, I did that. Let's try it together. Yes, I did that. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Period. Stop. Done. Okay, party done. This will help you. I promise. It'll help your life. It changed my life. It changed my life. I'm like, yeah, that's true. That happened. And it sucks sometimes to swallow your pride and have to be like, oh man, I'm kind of janky. Sometimes. Like, I do crazy things, that hurt other people. That's the truth. We do it. We disappoint. We hurt. Not intentionally, no, but it happens. So we have to acknowledge, we have to apologize when it does happen.
So worth it.
Yeah. Anything you want to say about that? We got one more.
It's great. Let's keep it going.
Yeah. And this I could have done when I was talking about my friends who were like, you're so rude. I mean, I could have acknowledged. I could have been like, yeah, you know what? That was kind of rude. And I could have apologized and been like, yeah, my bad. I'm so sorry. But I didn't. I doubled down. I was like, whatever. I'm not rude. You guys are rude. And then it was a bad situation. So I don't always get it right, but I get it right now much more than I get it wrong. So, it's a learning process.
Yeah. Acknowledging and apologizing, that is the accountability for sure.
Yeah. Triple A.
Yeah.
Accountability, acknowledgement, apologies.
Yeah.
Guys, got this on lock.
Yeah.
Get it done. Number 1. Woo! I love this one. Top 10 conflict busters. Number 1. Number 1 is humor and laughter. This will change your life. Don't use it irresponsibly. So sarcasm is not really where we're going with this. What we want is a well-timed funny. What I found, and this is what are they called? My goodness, I'm forgetting what their names are. Endorphins. These are things that come up in our bodies when we laugh, are natural pain relievers. When we start laughing, when there's humor, we have natural pain relievers. And conflict causes pain to our emotions, causes pains to our psyche, causes pains to our mental, causes pain sometimes to our physical. So if we have natural pain relievers like endorphins when we laugh, then that can help us. Laughter and humor also decreases cortisol, which is like our stress hormone. So when we start getting anxious and so on, laughter can decrease that tension super fast. And so if you're in the midst of a conflict, sometimes it's cool to be like, man, like, I can't even think of a joke, but probably not say a joke about the thing that you're actually arguing about in the moment. Try to think of like an inside joke. There's a couple, when they're in conflict, when they're in a heated argument, they get to a point, it's almost like a safe word, but it's a safe action. So they drop down to the ground, they lie on their stomachs, and then they look at each other. And this is like a funny thing that they do because it's kind of hard to take each other seriously when you're lying on the floor on your stomachs looking at each other. It's kind of weird, but it helps them because it makes them laugh. It's like an inside joke between the two of them. And so that can help if you have like a funny word or you have like a way out of conversation or conflict with your spouse or with your loved one or with your friends. That can help because at the end of the day, it turns the tables and it reminds you guys that you're on the same team. You're out here trying to do the same thing. We're both and all trying to have great relationships with each other and to reconnect when there are moments of disagreement or disconnection. I don't know if you have an example for that.
Use the humor to bring each other together. Use the humor to bring each other together. That's really what it is, you know? The laughter is bringing you together, having you realize that even though you're in conflict, this is the reason why you are together, that you can laugh and that you can really enjoy life with this person. So I think that's valuable for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Comments, KK, ensure that you don't use it to minimize the other person's feelings. Yes, absolutely. So just be mindful of how you're using the humor. But usually it's more of like a behavior, something like silly that you can introduce into the moment to decrease the tension, as opposed to like making a joke about what you're actually arguing about or making light of or minimizing the other person's feeling. Definitely don't want to do that. And if we're listening actively and we're using all the other conflict busters, it is highly unlikely that we're going to go to that place. If we really do care about how this person feels, we care about the relationship, we care about doing it well, we don't want to minimize and invalidate the other person and how they feel or what they're bringing to the table. That's our top 10 conflict busters for today. I hope that you've learned something, that you're taking something out of this. Next week is the season finale for season 7 of the relationship series.
Okay.
And we have 3 top 10s to choose from. One is top 10 reasons why you have no friends. Top 10 myths about getting over it. And top 10 signs that you might talk too much.
Wow.
So I think those are great top 10s. I think they're going to be fantastic. So we're going to vote on which one is going to be the season finale because we want to go out with a bang. And all 3 in 1. Yeah,
all 3. I agree. We're
going to do top 30 next week. All 3 top 10s. But they're really good, really fun. And these are things that people actually have issues with. Like people are like, oh man, I don't have friends. I don't have people that I really trust and feel safe with. And people are like, oh my God, I have to get over this situation. And I should have been over it by now. These are things that people actually struggle with. So we want to talk about how to get through it. You have no friends because you won't get over it and you talk too much. Yes! You get it. See, this is why KK's my bestie, because she gets it. Listen, it's the truth. It's the truth. Listen, we have to know ourselves. So this will be a lesson in self-awareness and maybe having a little bit of fun as well, adding in a little bit of humor. And I'll share my own realizations about how I got here, because I've experienced all of this.
It's been a journey.
All of it. It's been such a journey. It's been a fun journey, but it's been a journey, to say the least. Thank you guys so much for being with us on the relationship series once again. Thank you, Nigel, for being in the space.
Glad to be here. This is a great time. Some
always
real
fun.
Good gems in your toolbox now. You got some gems in your toolbox. For real.
Yes. So we will see you guys next week for the season finale of the relationship series. Always a pleasure. I'm your host, Genevieve. This is Nigel. Be out here. Make sure to go out and revolutionize your relationship.